morning. My name is Rebecca Haggerty, and I am your worship associate today. I'm excited to announce we have a guest preacher, the Reverend Ann Gardner. She has written a book about her 500-mile pilgrimage along the Camino de Santiago in Spain. It's called And So I Walked. It will be on sale after the service, and I am so looking forward to reading it. In honor of our guest, I want to open with a poem. It's about walking and talking. This poem came to me via text message from a very dear friend of mine. Conversations with this friend are one of the joys of my life, but a lot of times we struggle to fit it in because we live in different time zones and have a lot going on, like all of us. And this is the poem she sent me. A Time to Talk by Robert Frost. When a friend calls to me from the road and slows his horse to a meaning walk, I don't stand still and look around on all the hills I haven't hoed and shout from where I am, "What is it?" No, not as there is a time to talk. I thrust my hoe in the mellow ground, blade end up and 5 feet tall, and plod. I go up to the stone wall for a friendly visit. Our theme this month is trust. And the hope I have for myself and for all of us is that we can trust enough to let go, to lay down our tools and our to-do list and our computers and our phones for just a minute and come together at a stone wall or at the UU church or wherever we might be for a friendly visit and a time to talk. Come, let us worship together. Okay, so I'm inviting, lighting the chalice this morning is our guest preacher, the Reverend Ann Gardner. Today she will be offering us a reflection on her experience of walking the 500-mile Camino de Santiago. Her book about this extraordinary journey, recently published by Adelaide Books, is titled And So I Walked, and it recounts the challenges of completing a long-distance hike as well as the emotional and spiritual undercurrents that her time on the trail revealed, and the copies will be available for sale following the service. She is currently running the chaplaincy program at Harvard Westlake, a private independent high school in Los Angeles. Before that, she was the director of spiritual and religious life at Phillips Andover Academy in Andover, and she's also a freelance writer. So, welcome. Yep.
Good morning, church. Wow, you are a lively group. I love that. Thank you for trusting me with this sacred space and with this pulpit and with your time and hearts. As we light the chalice, let us hold these words in our hearts. Come, come, whoever you are. Do you hear the voice that's calling you? The voice that calls to us from a place made holy by your presence and the sacred breath we share in our singing and speaking and silence. The voice that reminds us we're not alone, that we're woven into a vast tapestry of existence for which we are an integral and holy part. The voice that calls to us to walk as wanderers and sing as worshipers and proclaim the memory of those who have taken their leave. This morning we are called back to the covenant of justice and humility and faithfulness. For these things we are here today.
Good morning, everyone. Please rise in body or in spirit for our opening hymn, Sing Out Praises for the Journey. This is 295 in your gray hymnal.
Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest for truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in freedom, to serve to humankind in fellowship. Thus do we covenant with each other. El amor es la enseñanza de esta iglesia. Buscar la verdad es su sacramento y el servicio es la oración. Vivir juntos en paz, buscar el conocimiento en la libertad, servir a la humanidad en comunión. Así es como convenimos unos a otros.
So Shauna and I are here instead of Jessica, the oldie and the youngie here for our. And so next week, take up donations for our West Side Food Bank. We've been doing that since my 33-year-old daughter was a kid. So if you need help, we have these able assistants to come. Oh, I think there's somebody over here that might. Do you want some help, Edna? Or, oh, here's Carol. Okay, anybody else? Here we go, all right. They love the goodies, bring it up. Are you ready? Oh, there's more people holding their hand up. Oh. Thank you for Sebastian. That's right. That's where we go. That's where you go next. moving to this stage. So at this point, do we change microphones? Yes. Yes? Who? Because this is our new generation here, going to read the story after we get a microphone over here. Is it working? Oh, it's okay. Oh, yeah, it's all right. Okay, yeah. So this month in our we are learning about the importance of trust. Last week, we talked about trusting ourselves and having self-confidence. This week, we're going to learn more in the cottage about trusting others. Why do you think it's important to be able to trust others?
Well, if you trust other people, then you don't have to do stuff on your own, and you can have other people help you along the way.
Okay.
Trust is when you care about others.
All right, these are good answers. And one of the reasons it's important to be able to trust others is that we need to be able to work together and do important things. And you can be friends
With them because they would want to be your friend.
There you go. This is a very old story from Aesop, helps us understand this truth. And here our young reader will introduce herself and then read the story.
I'm Zia. So I'm Zia, and I'm going to read this story. Okay, so during a time of war, life was hard for all. One family of 5 sons made life even more difficult by fighting among themselves constantly. One day, their father grew tired of their bickering. He spoke to them, asking, "When people around us are suffering so much, why must you act in such a way? Why can't you get along?" His words seemed to have no effect, so he asked his eldest son to bring him a bundle of sticks. The eldest son brought the bundles to his father. "Now break the sticks," his father said. The son, though strong, could not break the bundle. The second son tried and failed.
We need some visual aids.
Does anyone want to try to break this bundle of sticks?
All right.
Okay.
Shows us.
Well, you know what? Let's start with.
Do you want to try, Leah? Do you want to try and break it? Okay, you're not working with the script. No peeling off the tape.
I can do it.
I know. It's like,
I can do it.
I know. All right, wait, and then. Okay, next try.
Impossible.
Oh. Okay. Yeah. I think that's our clue, huh?
Yeah, let's wait. I was trying. Nope, it's not gonna break.
There you go.
The third and fourth could also not break the bundle. The fifth son untied the bundle and pulled out a single stick. "Father," he said, "I know why you asked us to break this bundle. When we fight among ourselves, we are like a single stick and break easily. But when we stick together, we are impossible to defeat."
Who wants to try to break one?
If you break it, you take it home.
Should I read the next paragraph? Sure. Okay. As we see from this story, having a community of trust is so important because we stick together and we can be so strong. When we're strong together, we can accomplish big, important things. Let's head to the cottage and learn more together.
Let us now sing the youth off to their RE classes.
Good morning. It's time for our announcements, and our first announcement, as always, is silence your cell phone if you haven't already done so. Next, I want to just call your attention to all of the events happening on site today, including lunches for bunches, food for unhoused neighbors, and so many more. You can always find out more about events that are happening through the bulletin, the newsletter, and checking in your order of service. So coming up in a few weeks, on April 6th, it will be the next in our Living More Sustainably series. That happens at 1 p.m. on April 6th, and it will cover sustainable food and waste reduction. Also a reminder that Reverend Gardner will be signing and selling her book after the service at a table right outside. So feel free to stop by and check it out. We also have, I think this is the final in our Faith Forward series today in Forbes Cottage, talking about UU history. And I want to give James Whitker a chance to give a little update from the Faith in Action Committee about a listening session planned for next week.
Okay, thanks. Hi, everybody. How are we all doing? Oh, good. Okay. Because I know that, what's going on in the news is something that's a lot of things that are on a lot of people's minds. A lot of us have a lot of feelings about it. And so this idea was proposed, and we're going to do this next Sunday after church. We're going to have a congregation listening circle where everybody who wants to can come together and just share your thoughts and your big feelings and concerns, etc. And we're going to have a chance to, to listen to each other in listening style format, which means not really crosstalk, but everybody gets a chance to express their what's going on in their mind and their heart. And then we're going to take a little bit of time to talk about and perhaps break out into the many different groups that we have in our community and our congregation that offer ways for people to get involved and take action. So that's going to be next Sunday, about 12, after church, basically, and hopefully we're going to have a light lunch as well. So hope to see you there. Thanks.
Okay, it's almost time to greet your neighbor. Before doing so, please remember to listen for Ryan's piano cue to return to worship. And we'll follow that by our music for the morning. So let's take a few moments now to say hello to the people around you, both those you know and those who are new.
I brought one of my all-time favorite poems for you to marinate on during our mindfulness time. I'm sure many of you already know it. It's called Wild Geese by Mary Oliver. You do not have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for hundreds of miles through the desert repenting. You only have to let the soft animal of your body love what it loves. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Meanwhile, the world goes on. Meanwhile, the sun and the clear pebbles of rain are moving across the landscapes, over the prairies and the deep trees, the mountains and the rivers. Meanwhile, the wild geese, high in the clean blue air, are heading home again. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you, like those wild geese, harsh and exciting, over and over, announcing your place in the family of things. Return with me for our reading this morning. I chose something from the Hebrew Scriptures from Exodus, chapter 17, verses 1 through 6. It's the story of journey and expulsion, which seem relevant to our contemporary times. From the wilderness of Sin, the whole congregation of the Israelites journeyed by stages, as the Lord commanded. They camped at Rephidim, but there was no water for the people to drink. The people quarreled with Moses and said, "Give us water to drink." Moses said to them, "Why do you quarrel with me? Why do you test the Lord?" But the people thirsted there for water, and the people complained against Moses and said, "Why did you bring us out to Egypt to kill us and our children and livestock with thirst?" So Moses cried out to the Lord, "What should I do with these people? They are almost ready to stone me." The Lord said to Moses, "Go on ahead of the people and take some of the elders of Israel with you. Take in your hand the staff with which you struck the Nile and go. I will be standing there in front of you on the rock at Horeb. Strike that rock, and water will come out of it so that the people may drink." Here ends the lesson. You are a fun group. You are a fun group. My thanks to your pastor in absentia for his gracious invitation this morning and for the warm welcome that I have received from all of you. As Rebecca has told you, this morning is an unusual circumstance for me, as most of my work falls outside the realm of traditional parish ministry. I currently oversee the chaplaincy program at Harvard Westlake, a school located not so very far from this parish. And for 12 years prior to that, I served as the director of spiritual and religious life at Phillips Andover, a boarding school located about 25 miles northwest of Boston. My transition to your City of Angels occurred during the height of COVID. Yes, timing that made that first year quite challenging, but the change of scenery also afforded me some unexpected opportunities, including the time to finish a project that had been on my bucket list for as long as I could remember. As a young girl, I wanted desperately to be a writer. Raised on the adventuresome tales of Nancy Drew, you know it, and Anne of Green Gables, I knew the key to crafting a riveting book was, of course, the storyline. But I never came across a topic that seemed worthy of such arduous attention or the spilling of such large quantities of ink. Until I did. Today, I want to share with you some of the details of that discovery. There's nothing new or cutting edge about it. Indeed, it is an ancient practice people of faith have been doing for thousands of years. This story begins with one of Jesus' disciples, the venerable St. James. During that first year at Andover, having just survived the grueling gauntlet we call faculty orientation, I headed toward the home of the then head of school to attend one final cocktail party before the academic year began. I was shy, I am shy, which made me even more aware of just how animated the conversation was that surrounded me, something that made me feel very much like the outsider I was. But luckily for me, one of the other attendees quickly scooted over and introduced herself. Within a few minutes, I discovered she was from Cuba, was herself a member of the World Languages Department, and also a person of faith. And when she discovered I was the new campus minister, she immediately launched into a lengthy conversation about the Camino de Santiago, a 500-mile pilgrimage path that extends all the way across the width of northern Spain, ending at the cathedral in Santiago, where, as lore would have it, the remains of St. James are believed to be interred. As a lifelong practicing Christian, I was embarrassed to admit to my new friend Carmel that I had never heard of the Camino. Well, that didn't last for long, and a handful of years later, I too would find myself on that same path, walking hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of miles toward that famed cathedral, wondering how exactly this had become my reality as well. Looking back on it, perhaps I shouldn't have been so surprised. In seminary, I took the standard rote of classes. I studied scripture. I made my way through centuries of church history. I was introduced to the practicalities of liturgy. So it wouldn't be out of the ordinary to assume my strongest spiritual connection would be to my prayer book, or the Bible, or to presiding over weekly Sunday services just like this. But if I'm being honest, none of those things were the most prominent tool in my spiritual toolbox. No, it was something much more mundane, a practice I've relied upon for my whole life. Solvitur ambulando, as St. Augustine once said, or it is solved by walking. I share this trait, of course, with countless others, many whose stories are contained in both the Hebrew and Christian scriptures. The transformational moments of the Good Samaritan, or the conversion of St. Paul, or the return of the prodigal son, all incidences that took place on the side of a road somewhere as the protagonists were making their way from one place to another. Even Jesus himself strode for some 40 days and 40 nights with nothing but time and an expansive horizon to help him make sense of his life and his vocation, and of course, what was to come. When I later shared this dream of mine of making the landscape of Spain the backdrop of the next stage of my life, my friends and family were strangely unconcerned about my capacity to traverse an entire country, noting that my legendary stubbornness alone would likely provide enough fuel for the journey. They were not wrong. But they did remain mystified as to why I would do such a thing. What sort of provocation could possibly lure me into such a punishing crucible? Confused myself, I asked this same question of every pilgrim I met. Why? I queried. Why are you here? And much to my surprise, nearly all of them gave me the exact same answer. My heart is broken. My heart is broken. Some were in the throes of a divorce. Some were grieving the death of a parent. Some longed to revive the relationship they once had had with their children. Some had had their world shattered by drugs and alcohol. Some had lost a job, and some, they were just lost. But this common thread remained, this fervent belief that the Camino could heal them, that through this act of walking, the painful and crippling portions of their lives could somehow be exorcised out of their hearts. And so I too began to consider if this were my truth as well. The day I reached the apex of the trail, some 350 miles into the pilgrimage, these were the words I wrote in my journal in an effort to capture that transitional moment. When I was younger, I saw the world in black and white, right and wrong, for me or against me. Oh, I had all the answers back then. I was vigorous, but not flexible, strong, but brittle. What I didn't fully appreciate back in my salad days were the countless ways in which I would grow stronger with age. I bend now. I play the long game. Like the very iron of the cross at which I knelt, I have been made more formidable by the impurities that mark my life. In reading that passage now, so many years later, I recognize many of the same emotional notes found during this morning's mindfulness time. Mary Oliver, at a time when most poets scribble in obscurity, Oliver found a way to capture so much of our contemporary zeitgeist. I chose this particular reading because, for me, it taps into this universal human emotion, that fervent desire to be seen, to be approved of, and our ever ferocious appetite to gain societal traction through achievement. But Oliver pushes back on those familiar pressures. She gives us room to breathe. You don't have to be good. You don't have to walk on your knees for hundreds of miles through the desert repenting. Tell me about despair, yours, and I will tell you mine. Whoever you are, no matter how lonely, the world offers itself to your imagination, calls to you like those wild geese, harsh and exciting. Oliver is masterful in her ability to write about the human condition with such insight, with such grace. It's as if the words of her heart effortlessly tumble from her pen onto the paper. If only one thing remains with you from this reflection, I pray it will be this: that the world is still calling you, inviting you to leave your isolation and come with joy and wonder into the wilds of creation. Our reading from Exodus tells the story of the Jews wandering in exile. They are a quarrelsome group, thirsty, demanding. You can feel how this situation is right on the cusp of boiling over. Why did you make us do this? They complained to Moses. Their collective discomfort is palpable. Their thirst, their longing exists on so many levels. During my 37 days of walking across Spain, I was often plagued by bouts of doubt and discomfort and spiritual disorientation, in search of something I just couldn't quite put my finger on. But in the quieter moments, I remembered I had chosen this journey, in part to travel the very challenging landscapes, both physical and emotional, the Camino promised. And in the end, my pilgrimage gave me exactly what I had come to find: an uncompromisingly honest reflection of the person I was, and a glimmer of the person I could be. And so this morning, I offer for your consideration these same questions. What is it that you are thirsting for? Who are you trying to become? And how might the path you've chosen be helping or hindering your spiritual trajectory? My blessings to each of you for whatever the journey is that lay ahead. Amen.
So your offerings today go to support the work of multiple groups in the church, including Lunches for Bunches, Food for Unhoused Neighbors, Faith in Action, the Faith Forward series, and so many others. And this month, half of our Sunday offering goes to the D.D. Hirsch Mental Health Services. And this is a really important organization. It's very close to our hearts, and I want to invite Cassie to talk a little bit more about it.
Good morning. Hi. Good to see you. I missed you last time. So many of you, or at least some of you, might remember that the first time that I was in the pulpit here, on the chancel, was when I came to beg for underwear and socks. I don't know if you remember that, but it was the first time I was up here. And you guys came through. You know, I work at the Crisis Residential House of D.D. Hirsch, and one of the things that is, you know, always in need is underwear, socks, and bras. Just to find a little bit of dignity, you know, for people who are coming in with nothing. And you guys came through for me. And I started working at D.D. Hirsch in 2014, and so it's just been over 10 years, sorry. I was thinking about the 8 years since I stood up here for the first time. And I just wanted to come and speak to you because I know Aubrey came up last week. She works there as well. I worked there. There was a few other past congregants that work here that some of you might know, Olga and Liam, that also worked there. And so I believe fully that our values align with one another, with UUs and with D.D. Hirsch. And so I could sit here and I could tell you all the things that are in the newsletter about our generous congregation. I could, you know, regale you with some really cool stories of clients that we've helped. I could remind you that we are the 988 call center. I could tell you about, we've gotten a new Gen Advisory Council, like a next generation advisory council. I could tell you about our third place, which is, you know, a place for young people to be able to go to. I could tell you about how we are supporting those who have lost their homes and everything within the fires, but not only those people, but the first responders as well. I could tell you that our enhanced care management team received a grant for our Black Birth Equity Initiative, improving mental health and maternal health for baby and child for a lot more successful births. I could tell you about how we have a tribal community outreach program which promotes prevention, training, and mental health resources tailored to Indigenous persons. But what I really want to tell you about here today is, and it's interesting because it falls right in line with the trust theme that we're studying this month. I wanted to tell you about an email that we received from our CEO, Lynn Morris, at the end of January, so right when everything was starting to get pretty chaotic. And she sent an email out that helped to ease my very real concerns about the overthrowing of so much cultural and humanitarian progress that I've witnessed in my lifetime. I'm sure a lot of you have witnessed as well. So without reading the entire email, I'll just say that she assures us that we continue to provide critical mental health services for those affected by fires, including first responders. We stand in solidarity with vulnerable communities facing threats to their rights and existence, and will not waver in our mission to provide a safe space for those who need us most. I could tell you how we now have signs on the outside of our buildings saying you can't come in without a warrant, and we've received training on how to deal with ICE officers. She says, we remain committed to our efforts to strengthen and expand our services. We have been expanding. When I started, we were like 500 employees. I think it's like 1,800 now. She also reminds us that while we are overwhelmed with the state of affairs, from physical and emotional toll of the fires to executive orders that threaten our basic human rights, to confusing and conflicting information about critical federal funding that might affect us. Dee Dee Hirsch's commitment to the staff and to the clients and to the volunteers is unwavering. She says that we're steadfast in our beliefs that investing in diversity, equity, and inclusion strengthens our agency and enhances our ability to serve everyone, those who most need it. She wants us to be sure that we all feel safe, supported, and valued. Our doors remain open and welcoming to clients regardless of their immigration status, gender, race, sexuality, religion, or identity. Every individual deserves respect, dignity, and health care. And she promises, and this is where the trust comes in, that she will continue to fight for the rights of the clients and staff. Now, I don't know about you, where you work, if your values at work align with your values here, but I can say that for people like me and my coworker Aubrey, who stand to lose so much to the amoral and deliberate attack on so many values that UU and Dee Dee Hirsch share, excellence, diversity and inclusion, equity, well-being, advocacy, and community engagement, I feel not only relieved, but also proud to work for an agency that has our backs, and the backs of not only us, but our clients, and also of the interdependent community in which we live. So I ask you to give generously, just in case, you never know. I want to invite the ushers to come forward. I think that if you want to donate in another way, we have all the things up there, and you've all heard it many times, so I'm going to go ahead and leave it at that. Please, ushers, come forward. Your donation is gratefully received today.
Please rise in body or in spirit for our closing hymn. This is 1018 in your teal hymnal. Come and go with me.
Let us pray. May we leave this time together changed. May the promises we have made to ourselves about who we want to be move closer to who we are right now. And may every word, every deed, every thought, every interaction be tools of this sacred transformation. Amen.